some of the information that has been compiled by the Westside Community Association with the help of an urban planner that's come from New York. She's a PhD student at Cornell University. Her name is Courtney Knapp, and she's been of invaluable help in helping to illuminate a lot of the issues of housing in Chattanooga, help us understand where we're coming from and where we need to be going. So there is a report, the report on affordable housing, that has been compiled by the Westside. And that is what the basis of this presentation is. We're not going to go through all the information, all the details, but we really want to highlight some of the information that's been found about the state of housing in Chattanooga. So what this report is hoping to do is to make a case for mandatory inclusionary zoning. What inclusionary zoning is a rule, a set of guidelines for zoning requirements that would force developers to abide by a double bottom line, that on top of trying to meet and get a reasonable return on investment, we also have another goal for them, and that goal is to provide for affordable housing needs in Chattanooga, to make sure that we have a city that is open to everyone of all income levels, for those who are actually living here, that we're not putting undue stress and undue burdens on people that have lived here and have called Chattanooga home. We have a deep worry and a deep concern that people are being priced out of their own city. That as we have larger urban demands and as we have the great urban renaissance here in Chattanooga, that the urban renaissance has done so much for so many, but there are plenty of people who have been left out of that. There are plenty of people who not only have stayed at the same level, but who are actually being hurt by the rising costs that are associated with the city. So I just want everybody to take a look at this. This is the downtown, what's called the Downtown Urban Overlay Zone, the downtown core. This is the map that's taken straight from census data, and all of the numbers here are broken down onto census tracts that are used by the federal government to compile census information. We're only showing this at the beginning because a lot of the information that's been compiled most of it has been directly through census data, and so I want everybody to get a good look at this. So, why an affordable housing ordinance? Number one, we believe there is a housing affordability crisis in Chattanooga, and we hope to show that with the presentation. Affordable housing in the city the supply is decreasing, and this is for rentals, for households, for public housing, and yet there is an increasing demand. The report that was done by the Brookings Institute 2 years ago showed that there was an 8% increase in poverty levels in Chattanooga. Second highest in the nation according to the report. So the ordinance is necessary to prevent further displacement of low and moderate income families from the city, pushing them out, pushing them farther away, pushing them away from the public services, public utilities that are necessary, the public transportation system, everything that people need in order to survive in the city. And we also wanted to show that affordable housing ordinances exist and that they work. So, when we're talking about affordability, what do we mean? And we are pulling straight from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. When we set the guidelines, we're actually using their guidelines. They define housing affordability by saying that the generally accepted definition of affordability is for a household to pay no more than 30% of its annual income on housing. Now, this includes mortgage costs, mortgage insurance, and families who pay more than 30% of their income for housing are considered cost burdened and may have a difficulty affording necessities such as food, clothing, transportation, and medical care. Homeowner and renter households that pay more than 50% of their annual income for housing are considered severely burdened, and a family with one full-time worker earning the minimum wage cannot afford the local fair market rent for a two-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States. The lack of affordable housing is a significant hardship for low-income households, preventing them from meeting their other basic needs, such as nutrition and health care, or saving for their future and that of their families. So, this information, when you see CT, that's census tract information, and it's a comparison over the last 3 census takings. The blue is 1990, the red is 2000, and compiled information for 2006 to 2010 in the green. So you're seeing the rise in median gross rents across the urban core. Okay, this graph here is a comparison of percentage changes in median household income and median gross rent in the urban core. So you can see, such as when it says CT4, that means the 4 census tract, we've seen a rise in gross rent of 36.3%, and yet income has only risen 25.9%. Now, some of these aren't very far off, but there are a number of places where you see red grossly surpassing blue, and that shows the difference in the rise of the income for people in these areas as opposed to the rent. Very drastic in some areas. Census Tract 25 says that although in that area rents have increased by 74.2%, the median income has actually decreased by 1.4%. So we are looking at housing burdens for renters and housing burdens for homeowners. So when we claim, and we say using this census information, that over 50% of people in Chattanooga are burdened by housing costs, we are compiling both with renters and with homeowners mortgages. So the red is moderately burdened. Over 30% of their income is going towards rent, and the green is severely burdened with more than 50%. On the left side you see renters, and on the right side you see homeowners. So severely burdened rental housing, again with the census tract to see throughout the city, throughout the urban overlay. The color difference here is in population density. So the greener or the thicker the color, that means the more people live in there. And you can see beside that we have a definite number for the housing according to the census, and also the percentage of people that are severely burdened. So you can see all throughout, the average here is looking at 25 to 30% of people all throughout the urban core. For most of the area of downtown, severely burdened. Affordable, 46.5%, moderately burdened, 25%, and severely burdened, 28.5%. Now that was, this previous one was for rental households. This next, the same graph showing for homeowners with a mortgage. For severely burdened with a mortgage, meaning they're paying over 50%, you have affordable 48.1, very affordable 5.3, and then burdened families 33% are moderately burdened, 13.6% of people in the urban core are severely burdened. All right, for subsidized housing, so everyone knows HUD definitions. How HUD compiles who is burdened or how they come up with income limits is based on the median income for Hamilton County. Now the median income for Hamilton County is $57,800. So income limit categories are broken down in this tract, and you can see it in the report if you pull it up. If you'd like to pull it up at home, you can see that there's a difference depending on how many people are in each household, whether they're in a low income limit, extremely low, or very low for the fiscal year 2012. Median family incomes in the urban core. This is broken down into census tracts. So the median income around the west side here is $8,566. You can see the data classes in this set here. The color differentiation is based on the median income level. So the greener it is, the higher median income. You can see that almost no place in the downtown urban core is the median income, the actual median income for Hamilton County. This is one of the reasons why this report is focusing specifically on the urban core, because in the midst of development and in the midst of urban public services and public systems, we still see this differentiation between this and Hamilton County. Now the smaller legend, the smaller map up here shows the full Hamilton County and how that breaks down. So you can see the color differentiation now. We wanted to bring up not just the implications for renters and for homeowners here in Chattanooga, but we want to talk about housing and how it affects everyone in the community. And what that means is that we must bring up and support the situations of people in public housing and how that's changed over the years, as well as the homeless here. Because the lack of affordable housing is definitely influencing all of them. It's definitely keeping people from having a safe and secure environment. So, what we've seen in Chattanooga as a result of decreased funding for housing and urban development, it's led to the destruction of public housing infrastructure in Chattanooga. So what we have here is breaking down how many units have been lost from torn down structures. Spencer McCauley Homes, 505 units. Maurice Poss, 188 units. Reverend Johnson Apartments, 31. Harriet Tubman, 60 in 2005. Fairmount, 28 units. And Harriet Tubman, which they're vacating, is 440 units. Now, some of these have been replaced with mixed income for some areas,